Okay, done.
Thank you. Thank you. I can put my glasses back on so there's no glare. All right. Well, as many of you know, writing a book is a guaranteed way to build a strong personal brand. It boosts your market value. It lets you be seen as an authority in your domain. And it can make you rich and famous. Yet, most people will find 100 reasons to not do it. It's way too complicated, it's time consuming, it's expensive, I don't know where to start, will people read it? I'm not a good writer, that's my favorite one. And the list goes on. But what if I told you that you can go from a concept to being an Amazon #1 bestseller in 16 weeks? You can choose to say that's impossible, or you can take action today and get started. Hi everyone, my name is Neera Gupta and I'm the Chief Visionary Officer at Global Influencers Publishing House, who have created more than 100 bestseller authors in less than a year. And I'd like to welcome you to our second session of Write, Publish, and Market your Amazon #1 bestseller book. And today we are going to talk about the first essential step in writing, which is book mapping. And for that, we have with us Anna von Zinner, who is a multi best selling author, writing coach, and mentor. And she's also the chief editor at Global Influencers Publishing House. Mind you, don't go by her looks. She actually has 35 years of experience in the field. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. I have the wrinkles to prove it as well.
All right. So, Anna, we want to get started today, and I want to go straight into asking you some questions. So, what is a book map?
A book map is exactly as it sounds. It's a map, it's a plan for your book. And really, I think Benjamin Franklin said it well when he said, if you fail to plan, plan to fail. Book map will help you to write your book. It's as simple as that.
And when do you make it? Like, when do you start making a book map?
You start doing your book map before you actually start writing. It's when you're writing a book, you don't just sit down and start writing your book. You do your book map, your plan first, so that you have something to work against, so that you know where you are at any time. It's just like traveling in a car. You have a map, you have a plan, whether it's a GPS, whether it's an old-fashioned fold-out map, you go from A to B. It's the same with writing a book.
And so, what is in a book map? Like, what are the contents? What do we think? Like, if you say, well, you need to do your book map, or you ask somebody, well, you're writing a book. Have you done your book mapping? What does it mean?
So the things that there are 5 things that I look at. The first one is expectations, and that's really important because when we talk about expectations, we talk about what you as the author have as your expectations. So why are you writing your book? And what's your dream? What is your dream for writing your book? What do you think it's going to be like to write a book? And then I'm going to burst your bubble and say, well, it's not that easy. Because it's not. It's hard work. And anybody who does a book map will know that it's not going to be easy, because doing a book map is not easy. Then we look at the book positioning. And when I say book positioning, that means your reader. We look at who your reader is. We really get into the nitty-gritty of who your reader is. And we will say that your reader is, let's say, a woman aged 32 who drives a Saab, lives in a penthouse, and has a $500,000 job. She eats Cocoa Pops every morning for breakfast after she does yoga, and which is highly unlikely, but and she is a senior executive in a multinational company, and she likes to wear pink underpants and blue bras every day. So we're going to know her that well that we know what color underwear she wears, and the smallest details, what her family is like, what she likes to do, what she likes to eat, all that stuff that makes her up. That is how well we're going to know the reader. And that's really important, because the better you know your reader, the more you can write for your reader. And your reader will have a name. You will give your reader a name, so that when you're talking to your writing coach and your writing coach is reading your work, and your writing coach will say, I don't think Frida would understand that word. And you'll go, what don't you think? I say, no, I don't think so. I don't think she'll understand that word or that phrase, or you might need to explain it more, or maybe it's too simple. But always keeping the reader in mind.
So
Then we
just
talk.
going back, Anna, sorry, just going back on this, the first thing that you said is why you're writing. And I know we've had this conversation with a lot of people, and the answers are rather vague, right? When they say, "Oh, I'm writing because," and it's always, I mean, of course, the bigger picture is really, really amazing, but many people, when they think about why they're writing, it's quite vague. So then I just want to understand, how do you then help people when we go through the book mapping process to then narrow the real reason?
Okay, let's do an exercise. Okay, now we've not planned this, anybody. So Neera, why do you want to write your book?
Um,
Because I know you want to write a
yeah,
book.
right. So, because I think this story that I have is quite interesting, it's fun, and people are generally going to enjoy reading it.
Why do you think they're going to enjoy reading it?
Because it's got lots of different elements from different areas where people can either relate to it, or they know somebody that they could relate to, and just find the whole story rather interesting, like as an entertainment.
Okay, so why do you think they're going to find the story interesting or entertaining?
Because I enjoy writing it, and I think the story is funny and fun, and it's got emotion, and it's got um, mystery, and it's got laughter. So it's got all of those things that I believe makes a book very interesting.
So why do you think your reader is going to find those things interesting?
Because people think like that. People think that, oh wow, I did not know about it. This is so interesting about how different cultures behave, and how we might think that, we take certain things for granted and other people may not. So I think that's probably why.
So I'm just going to leave it there, but you can see by asking the question why, we're really digging down into why Neera would want to write her book. It's not just because the book is going to be interesting, but she got to the point where the different cultural aspects of it. So that's a really good reason to write your book. And that's what we work on when we talk about a book map. We really dig down and find out who your reader is and why you want to write this book. So important.
I agree. And we've had conversations where we've asked people who your reader is, and the answer has been everybody.
And it can't be everybody, because everybody is different, and you can't write a book for everybody. You write a book for one person, and when that one person is reading that book, yay, you've got it. But you'll find that other people will see the book, and other people will say, that's something I'm interested in. So they will read it also. But you've written it for that one person in mind. and you just find, and your book might be written for a woman of a certain age, but you'll find that men will also read it because they might want to know what a woman of a certain age thinks like. That's going to be the perfect thing to find out.
I mean, Anna, sorry, I'm butting in between, but to write a book for keeping one person in mind is something quite unusual. I mean, you look at a certain target audience while you're writing a particular book. I mean, it could be fiction or non-fiction. Do you think when writers write a book, they only think about one person in their mind, that person would be interested in writing a book?
Yes. Yes, you need to, that's what you need to do. You need to focus on a person, because if you don't focus on a person, your book will be too broad. It just will be too broad. You just won't be able to service any audience by covering that shotgun aspect, because it's like saying, I'm going to open a restaurant and I'm going to have 60 main dishes on it in that restaurant. And, you know, as soon as somebody says, I've got 60 main dishes on my menu, you go, oh, that's a lot. You know, how good are you going to be at all of those?
No, I mean, suppose it's a vegan restaurant. So I'm actually addressing to all the vegan people who eat vegan food, right? So I'm coming from that that thought process. Like, you need to have a target audience, right? I mean, having one person in mind, how does it? I'm somehow not able to understand that concept.
Okay. So if you've got a vegan restaurant, are you going to just say, I'm serving vegan food, or are you going to say, I'm serving vegan European food, or vegan Asian food, or vegan fusion food? So you need to
narrow down
so that you have a particular audience.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right. What's the third thing?
Okay. The third thing is that you take you take the first bit, or your expectations and your reader, and you smoosh them together, and you figure out, is my book going to work for my target audience? And you sort of do that by doing a series of exercises where you do, for example, you do like a pitch for your book, where you're imagining you're standing in the lunchroom at your work and somebody is talking about your book. What would they say about your book? What would they say to somebody who has not read your book to encourage them to read it? Would they say, have you read this book? This book, oh, it's fantastic. It is so good. It just told me the exact things I needed to know about doing somersaults. And because I read this book, I now know how to do somersaults. And Leanne, I think this is the book you should be reading to do somersaults. Really, look, short read, not many pages, perfect for you.
Wow, this is amazing.
Don't recommend you do it, Leanne. No somersaults.
Right.
So then the fourth part is the book outline. Now, this is the really biggie, is where you do your contents page. And this is where you do your chapter list. And you learn also, you do your chapter list, and it doesn't have to be in any particular order. What your chapter order can change up until the minute you hand your manuscript to the publisher. The idea is to get the ideas for your chapter out. And the other thing that I teach you in this session is that I teach you how you can write, a process for writing that you can use for your chapters, that you can use for blogs, that you can use for letters, emails, anything you write. There is a process, a system, a framework, if you like, that you can use. And it's a very simple framework, very easy. It works every single time. And the last thing that you learn in the book mapping program is you learn how to create a writing plan. And you're going, a writing plan? Isn't that what I've just done? No, a writing plan is where you figure out when you're going to write, how many words you're going to write, how often you're going to write, and when, where, how often. What else? I think I've forgotten something, but I can't remember just at the minute. I'm too excited. But basically, it's how many words? How many words you're going to write? That's it. So whether you're going to write, 250 words in 1 hour every day for however long it takes to write your book, and you're going to sit at the kitchen table, or maybe you're lucky and you've got a beautiful courtyard and you can sit there every day and write for an hour or half an hour. That's your writing plan. But you have to be consistent and persistent.
So here's the thing, right? I know a lot of people talk about when they write, and I'm just going to the writing plan point, is they say, oh, but when I write, when I'm in the zone, I just write and write and write, and I can write for a couple of hours, but then I won't write for a couple of weeks.
Well, boo-hoo. That's really sad. I mean, what you will probably find is that you start slow and you start with half an hour. If you can write for 2 hours, that's really optimum. But it needs to be consistent. It needs to be every day. This is not something that you're going to do for the rest of your life. Writing a book is a short period of time in comparison to your life. So you make that commitment for the next 2 months or 3 months that it's going to take to write your book. If you make that commitment to do that, you will get your book written. If you don't, you will find that I put it down for these 2 weeks and then, I never come back to it.
Yeah. And do you think that's the reason why, when we talk to a lot of people and say, oh, I've been writing my book for years, or I started writing and got nowhere?
No book plan, no book map, no consistency, and no accountability. So that accountability, you need to have a writing coach. And it's just a given. A writing coach will keep you moving along the track. You're doing well. Is there a problem? Let's talk about the problem. Let's get over the problem. Let's keep writing. Let's see how you're doing. Let's keep going.
So when we talk about the book mapping program, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
The book mapping program is 1 hour per week for 5 weeks. And that's it. We try and get the work done in the sessions, and anything you don't complete in the session, you get as homework.
Right.
And homework is good.
Of course. But what if somebody says that, look, I want to do it in 1 week. Let's just do it every day for 5 days. Is that a good idea, or what do you think?
One of the authors I'm currently working with, he did the book mapping plan. We did it in 2.5 weeks. So we did 2 sessions per week. And even he was going, oh, that's a lot, isn't it? By the end of it, he was a bit tired because it goes easy, hard, easy in terms of difficulty, but it can be quite intense. So it's good to have that spread.
Got it. So, I mean, look, if somebody can keep up, great, but your recommendation is that it to be done once a week for an hour, because then there is homework after that, because clearly not everything can be finished in that 1 hour.
Yeah. Look, a couple of the sessions, yes, there will definitely be homework. And breaking it up, it gives you a chance to think about what you've learned and to process what you've learned, because especially that first session where you're asking people why they're writing their book, that's big stuff. And quite often they haven't really thought about why the deep why they're writing their book.
True. I mean, again, look, you put me on the spot by asking me that question, and I have to be honest, I thought I knew why I was writing it, but then it made me rethink, and already now, I'm thinking, oh gosh, okay, well then whatever I'm thinking, I need to rethink. So it makes sense. So here's a question now. And I think a lot of people who are either attending today or will be watching this recording later on are in that position where they've already started. Now, somebody who's clean slate, right? They haven't started, they have an idea in mind, great. But a lot of people have already started writing. They have an idea in mind. They've probably done some chapters or contents. Now, does it make sense for them to then and they haven't done a book map, mind you, because nobody's told them that there is something called a book map and it should be done. Now, does it make sense for them to kind of go back and say, okay, well, let's do a book map, let's rethink everything?
Depending on how far along they are, I would say yes.
Okay.
Because what a book map will do for a writer is that it will help you when you get stuck. It will help you when you are procrastinating. It will help you when you've got writer's block. It will help you when you are overwhelmed and just going, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. It will just help you to be consistent. Because anytime that you get stuck, you've got your book map, and you can say, right, I'm up to chapter 2 and I'm writing about the audience. Okay, chapter 2 is about the audience and I'm up to this bit here. Okay, that's where I am. That's where I need to keep going and writing about. Overwhelm, finished. Procrastination, finished. Writer's block, gone. Plus, you've got your writer's coach as well, who will be saying, why are you stuck?
Right.
And then they'll say, have you looked at your book map? And you'll go, no. And I'll say, well, why? Well, not. You worked on it. Why? What's the point?
Right. Look, it makes a lot of sense. And, thank you so much for giving us all of this information. Now, of course, to everybody who's here today, we are taking questions. So if you've got any questions related to book mapping, please feel free to ask or drop it on the chat. We will address it during the course of the session today. Now, of course, we can tell you that you should do this with us because we're the best. But I'm very, very excited that we have some of our writers with us today. In fact, we have a couple of writers who've written and published with us, and of course there are a couple of writers who've done the book mapping process with Anna. So I do want to call them and put them on the spotlight. So I'm going to start with Victoria. Now, Victoria, she's joining us from UK, and she's the co-author of the My Voice bestseller book series, Volume 2. So, Victoria, I wanted to first, of course, ask you about, how was what was your experience, co-authoring the My Voice book and, of course, publishing with us? And, of course, I want to know more about then your journey of doing the book mapping. And I know that you're now almost on the last chapter of your books. I want to kind of just hear a little bit from you.
Okay, so hi, I'm Victoria. I wrote a chapter for edition 4, and that came out in March. And I wrote the chapter in December and loved it. I got into it because my cousin wrote a chapter for edition 1. And I connected with Anna through watching my cousin's, publication videos. And I guess what writing in My Voice did is it gave me confidence. It sort of allowed me to dip my toes in and write one chapter. And I loved writing it. And I think I've probably had the idea of a book in me for about 2 years. And because I was connected through My Voice, I attended one of Anna's webinars about the book mapping. And to be honest, I don't think I would have even started writing a book if I hadn't attended that webinar, because what it did is it made me feel it was possible. And I think when you go into something thinking I'm writing a book, that's a huge thing. But what the book mapping does, and what Anna does, is she breaks it down into manageable chunks. So it's not this huge, you're not just looking at a book. It's really about just really sort of honing in on exactly what Anna said. Why am I writing this book? Who am I writing it for? What does the reader want from this book? And putting that focus on the reader, not what I want to do, what the reader wants from it. And it just made it all possible, it feel possible. And it didn't feel difficult. It didn't feel challenging, because what you have when you work with a writing coach is you have someone that's guiding you through every step of the way. So at not one single moment do you feel on your own. You know, you've got somebody you can go, oh, I'm struggling here, or I'm not sure, I'm losing a bit of impetus, but you've got that guide. And I'm a coach as well, so I know that's what coaches do. They guide you through something, but they also give you motivation and confidence and belief. And like Anna said, sometimes you can slightly, I remember 1 week having to take a week off once I actually started writing. And I don't think if I wasn't working with Anna, that I would have kept going again. I think I'd have just thought, oh, let's just stop and put it to one side. And it's focus. Accountability is so important. But it's that feedback. You're getting feedback. It's having that other person to go, but have you thought about this? And that is really crucial. And I can't believe it, but I started the book mapping mid-January, and I have written my first book. I finished it. I'm just working on referencing. And I know it would have just been in my head still if I hadn't done the book mapping, or if I tried to do it on my own. And I think it's really interesting what Sheikha said about that thing about writing for one person. It does feel a bit bizarre, but we even got as close as, I had a photo of this person. I chose somebody that actually who is a celebrity in England, who I really admire. We did the whole profile. And what was brilliant is every time I was like, am I writing at the right point? Am I writing at too high a level? Because my book's about trauma. So is it, and am I writing for somebody who's aware like I am now, or am I writing for somebody who's in that difficult moment at the time? And all it took was for me to look at that photo and go, mine was Amelia. What does Amelia want? Will Amelia understand this? And I can't sort of promote the book map enough. I think it's incredible.
Wow, thank you so much, Victoria. Just listening to you made it so exciting. Like it is. Right. It just, and I love what you said, where you said that, had I not done this, it would just have been an idea. And from Jan to now, and you're done. And that's a question that somebody just asked, saying, what is the duration of end-to-end plan of writing a book? So, Anna, do you want to just quickly tell us, if somebody says, I want to write a book, just from a writing standpoint, we'll go through the whole publishing process, but from a writing standpoint, what would you say?
From writing, well, obviously you do your book map. Your book map is 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. Then I suggest you take a couple of weeks break and then go into writing the book. And that's a book mentoring program. And I have a program which runs for 12 weeks. And in those 12 weeks, you write a chapter every week. Now, my unique selling point is that I am an editor and a writing coach. And what happens is that each week you write a chapter, you send it to me the morning of or the day before we have a session together. I edit your chapter and we sit together and look at that chapter in our session. With that feedback, you obviously make any changes that need to be made, but then you have learnt something and move on to the next chapter. And I know, and I saw it with Victoria, that her writing was really good to start with, but her writing has improved so much over the 12 weeks. It's been incredible. And you can see from the editing, because I use track changes to show where I make suggestions. By the end, I've got barely any suggestions because she has listened to my advice and she has taken it up, and she is writing gold standard work.
Wow. So what you're saying is that the coaching isn't just about helping you write a particular book. It makes you a good writer.
Exactly. It teaches you to focus on your reader. It teaches you to think about your reader and not what you want. As Victoria said, it's not about what you want to feed somebody, it's what your reader wants to read. Because remember, when you're in a bookshop, you're looking for something that you want, not what the author has decided to put on the shelf.
No, that makes sense. So I do want to get some feedback from the audiences as well. Now, for everyone who's just, heard everything that Anna has said and the discussion we've had, and of course, you all have in your mind an idea of what you want to write about. Now, from what you've heard and what you had in mind, now, if you feel that you need to now rethink about why you're writing, right? If you need to really rethink about why you're writing, type 1 in the chat message. And I know I am definitely putting a 1 in there because it really made me rethink. So for anybody, who's in the process of writing, if you think that you had to rethink why you're writing, type 1 in the chat group. Also, if now you have to talk about who your reader, I mean, again, like Shikha was saying that, we always think about a target audience. We think about, who are the people that we're writing for, the people, and not one person, because I never thought I was going to write for one person. Now, if this is something that has really changed since, you've attended, type 2 in the chat. So if you now always saw that there was a target audience and the fact that you have to write for one person and it is like an eye-opener, type 2, and it was definitely for me. And it was great, Victoria, that you mentioned it as well, and you had this person Emilia in your mind, because again, a lot of people do believe that, and we've had this discussion with people where they said, we're writing for everybody, like, no, that doesn't work. And I think what you talked about, the outline and the chapters and the contents, that's definitely very, very important when it comes to actually, doing the process. And now we've also got Leanne with us, who's joining us from Australia. And Leanne was also, yep, go on.
Just interrupt for 1 second.
Yes.
Before we introduce Leanne. Leanne's got a very special story. She started the book mapping program with me, and she had to take a little break. I'll let her explain the situation. Okay. And things have changed because of that break. Leanne, would you like to speak?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Leanne Sharland, and I was in volume 2. And it was an amazing experience working with Nira and Shika and Anna, right? So it was my second time writing a chapter, and my level of maturity had grown. So being surrounded by these amazing people, my level of maturity had grown, but I wasn't applying the book mapping concepts. So I wanted to write a book, but it was possibly a little bit about me. And I started, and I even think that I signed up with Anna to do the book mapping to help her, right? So, but what I've realized, and I think it was like 2 or 3 sessions in, I had a mini stroke. So for the last 4 months, I've been recovering my thinking, my speaking, my walking, managing my energy, and even more than ever before, I know that I have to write my book. It's like I've now got a double underline, and there's somebody out there, and I met her when we were going through the positioning. And like Victoria, I am a coach. So I've done different things, like on who my ideal avatar is, or who, but the more I wrote, the more Anna inspired me to write, prodded, poked me to write. I met this woman, and I owe her to write this book. This will change her life. Now, it'll probably change my life too. And I'm going to recommence with Anna. And I know that from this process, and I'm a get stuff done person, right? I don't even think the instructions get finished before I'm halfway through doing the task at work. You know, I'm a self-starter. But listening to the process, Anna is fast-tracking me and ultimately you to getting the outcome that you want for the person and their family and the people that are going to be in the ripple of the world, because it is my intention to impact 1 million people in the world through the ripple effect, not by touching them, right? So Anna's going to impact millions of people with her work, but really it's the process. I'm a data analyst. I understand process, but falling in love with the person I'm writing for creates that compulsion now for me to do it, like wasn't there before, because I was helping Anna.
Wow, this is amazing, and thank you, Leanne, for sharing this. And again, you're also leaving a legacy. That's the thing. That's what you're doing. You're leaving a legacy by writing the book that you're writing. And Anna, would you say that can also be a reason to write when you ask the question, why are you writing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am a really firm believer that writing is the only way to leave a legacy. And it's how you're going to be remembered, whether it's by your family or by the stranger, the people on down the street. Even your book could be used for research purposes in future years. Who knows? Who knows? But you know, if you think your children are your legacy, if you think your grandchildren are your legacy, I know some of you have heard me say this before. I went on a trip to Melbourne Cemetery, and I found out one of the most profound things in my life is that within 2 generations, you are forgotten. But if you write a book, you will be there forever. And you think, well, that can't possibly be true. Well, yes, it can be, because we still read the works of ancient Greeks. We still read the works of Shakespeare. We still read, so many books and manuscripts and pieces from people who have been before us in history. I mean, one of the things, we're surrounded by war at the moment, but one of the things that we have a great collection of here in Australia at the Australian War Memorial is war diaries. Now, these are referred to constantly by researchers. And these were just diaries by servicemen and women written in World War I and World War II. So they are the legacies, the written legacies that are going to be remembered.
So true. Well, thank you so much for this, Anne. And thank you, Leanne and Victoria, for sharing your personal experience. And of course, we're very, very excited about the process that you're at, and the fact that the book's coming. So we're very, very excited about that. And once again, thank you for sharing that. I do want to let everybody know who is here today that Anna has been very, very kind to have an offer today for anybody who wants to do the book mapping with her. We are going to share the details of the offer a little later, because we do want to go through a few more things about writing a book and then publishing it. But of course, for everybody who is here today, and in case of course you have to leave, we will send the offer to you, and we will let you know that there is a very, very special offer for the book mapping program, which, as Anna said, is over 5 weeks. Of course, if you do believe that you can do it quicker, then you could actually work the timings out. But so we are gonna be sharing that a little later, so do stay with us. And thank you, Anna, for that. And I'm sure there'll be some more questions that are going to come up, and we'll definitely be asking you those. Now, we've had a question where we've had people asking us also, what should a manuscript involve? Now, of course, a complete manuscript would be, if we look at it from the beginning, it has the bio of the author, and of course it has to be really, really well written, where the person who wants to read then is interested in reading the book because of the bio. And of course, it should also have a high resolution picture, which is like the torso, like the upper torso and the shoulders, showing the full head. It's very important to have it taken professionally, because again, that's there forever. So make sure that you do have that. The next thing, of course, as Anna had mentioned, is your table of contents, which again will appear inside the book, and that is all your chapters, and it includes everything that's in the book as a table of contents. After that is a preface, which again talks about the book and the reason for writing the book. And this again could be, mostly it is a personal account written in first voice by the author. Often people do confuse it with a foreword, which is, it's great to have. It's not necessary, but it's great to have if you can. But that should be something that is written by someone else who is obviously famous or influential in the field of the subject that the book is on. Because then, of course, it also gives other readers this sort of an authority to say, well, that an authority has spoken about it, well, then the book must be good. So it's always a good idea to have a foreword. After that, of course, you have all of your chapters, which have to be carefully drafted, so that there is a story that flows through. And again, something that Anna mentioned, that you might have something in mind when you're doing your book mapping, but the chapters can change around, but then that's the whole process of writing. What people also have is an index at the end of the book, and that is usually to help people kind of, if there's certain references, then people can kind of look at that and then go back. But it totally depends on what your book is about, whether you do need an index or not. The other thing that you could include in your book are pictures, diagrams, workbooks, tables, graphs, pictograms, anything that complements what your writing is about. In terms of when you are submitting your manuscript to a publisher, I know there are some amazing fonts and everybody has their favorite fonts, but a standard font to use is, and a preferred one is, Times Roman size 12 with single spacing. That's the standard. So do make sure that you have it in that before you submit your manuscript to your publisher. And of course, as Anna mentioned, there's a book mapping process, which is about 5 weeks. And again, depending on what you're writing, and of course, if you follow the consistency, if you follow your writing plan, you should be able to complete writing your entire book in 12 weeks or even less. You might choose to do it yourself, or you can also get a coach. For example, of course, as both Leanne and Victoria were mentioning, that the advantages of having the coach, so that accountability, that why you're writing this, things like writer's block, all of those things and much more is accomplished if you do have a coach who's there to coach you, to handhold you. Look, they can't write for you because it's your story, it's your material, but what they can do is help you through that process week after week. And again, we all need accountability, because otherwise it'll be 2 years and we haven't written a book. So something like that is great, because then that it can be done in that time frame. And of course, there are certain people who just don't have the time or just can't write. For them, then of course there's a ghost writing service, so where a ghostwriter then writes the book for you, but of course it has your name on it. And the way they write it is, even your best friend can pick up the book and they will think that you've written it, because that's the beauty of the way it's written. It's written like as if you have written it, and that's a whole different process. So if if it is something that you believe works better for you, then that's an option as well. And of course, please do get in touch with us for any of these options. We've shared the details on the chat group. Now, the next step, is in your processes. So you've written your book, right? Where you've done your book mapping, you've written your book, everything's done. The next step would be then to think about editing. Now, even when the editing is happening, now, because you obviously have to wait for the book to be finished to edit, or of course, if you have a coach, then the editing is being done throughout the process. So each chapter gets edited, and then of course it gets edited to the end. But even
Sure.
that, yeah, go on.
That only happens with me.
Yes, that is correct. Anna, yes, that is correct. Thank you for picking that up. Because Anna is an editor and a book coach, she's able to edit and do the coaching at the same time. But of course, with certain other book coaches, if they're not an editor, then they help you write the book. But then of course you have to go through the entire editing process at the end, which is also when you write your own book on your own, you have that whole editing process. So even while while you're still writing, what we want to do is start working on your book cover. Why do we want to do that? There are two main reasons. One, it's exciting. You've got your title and you've got a book cover. It's exciting that it's really happening. And the second thing is, when you put it out there, when you've got your book cover out there, coming soon, or I'm writing this, you're accountable. You've told the world you're writing a book. You have to write a book. So it kind of pushes you to write as well, because people are going to be like, so what happened to that book? Oh, I saw the cover. So that's the reason why you do want to have a cover. And of course, because it's very exciting, so we can always work on the cover based on the title, based on what your idea for the book is. And again, look, it can always change at the end. Like if we decide that the title needs to be edited a little bit, or maybe the cover needs to be done, but we do want to put something out there. So that's your front cover of the book. Then is the back cover of the book. Now, the back cover of the book usually has testimonials from people whom you would have sent the draft. So we don't wait for the book to finish, as in, to be published. Once you've got your draft together, perhaps when it's edited is better, but then you send it out to people whom you believe are influential to be on the back cover of the book. And so you'll have testimonials at the back of the book, and you will also have the synopsis of the book. Now, what is that synopsis? It is something that is going to be exciting enough for someone to pick up your book and read. And I know we always say that don't judge a book by its cover, but the truth is we all do. We all do that. The first thing we do is we look at the front of the book, and then we turn to the back of the book. So it's very, very important that whatever you're writing about, it should reflect in the front cover, and of course then at the back, to have those great testimonials, to have a fabulous synopsis at the back. So this is what will make your book. And of course then you've got the boring stuff, which is like the ISBN, which is the international standard book number, which is a 10-digit number that you have to have. Every publication has this, which is like a graphical code representation. You would have seen that, those barcode like thingy. Copyrights as well. So these are the things that we would be working on during the process, so we don't have to wait till the very end to do that. Then of course is the editing. Now if you're writing it yourself, then once the manuscript's ready, then the next step is editing. Now a lot of people misinterpret what editing is. They think that's proofreading. Now of course proofreading is part of the editing, but it's not everything. And literally editing can make or break your book. Even if you look at the most influential people or the best sellers that are out there, you will see how they always talk about the editor and how they thank their editor, because it will really, really make a difference on what your book is about. And editing is, it's a whole process. It's a whole process. It includes structural editing, it includes content editing, copy editing, then the proofreading, which is basically then the last step of making sure that it's ready to be published. So editing is a major process. And look, again, depending on the size of the book and what the book is about, it can take a couple of weeks or more. But that's a step where there's just, I would say there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. And again, the importance of editor, and I wanna also talk about this, is when it comes to a publisher, we might have a certain idea of how we want the book to be. The author might have an idea of how they want to see the book, but the person who literally puts the right perspective is the editor, because the editor says this does not work, this does not. And again, and Anna's been editing so many books for us, and she's done so many different types of chapters and books. And the one thing that she always says to me is, Neera, look, it's not about you as a publisher, it is about the author. My service is to the author. Everything I do is for the author. I want to make sure that they come out as the hero, or they come out, what they want to say comes out in the book. And it's not about making them look nice or anything like that. It has to be authentic. It has to be about what they want to write about. So editing, again, is a very important process. So all of this can take about 4 weeks from when you submit your manuscript. So that includes, designing the book cover, the content of the back cover, the ISBNs, copyrights, barcodes. The editorial team, of course, is working on the side as well. So there, nothing stops. It's a process. So everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. And of course, then the last step is publishing the book. And that, I would say, I know a lot of people think that it's harder to get published than writing. We believe that too, because when we wanted to publish the My Voice book, we went through this whole process of wanting to publish, and we genuinely found it extremely hard. And what we felt was that it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be where you send in your manuscript, or you send in your synopsis, you send in the chapter, and then you just wait and not even get a reply from your publisher. That's really not it's not helpful, and you wouldn't get your book out there if you were just going to sit there and wait. And that's the reason why we set up Global Influencers Publishing House, because we wanted to give an opportunity to authors all over the world to be able to get their books out, to be able to then influence other people from their book, to be able to have their thoughts, leave a legacy, whatever the reason for them writing their book. We wanted to make sure that we help people fulfill those dreams. And everybody has a story. Everybody has a story, and it needs to be heard. And that's the reason why, the whole Global Influencers Publishing House was set up. And of course, we've got an amazing editorial team. We've got great designers. We've got a whole marketing team, and that's the whole part of being there to help people realize their dreams, and of course make it into a bestseller. When we look at the distribution, currently we're using Amazon, who are the biggest distributing channel globally, because if your book is on Amazon, then it's accessible to anywhere where Amazon's present. And the fact that they allow you to have an on-demand printing and distribution, that means that you don't have to hold thousands and thousands of books where we're all struggling with space. You don't have to have that many books. You print how many copies you need, because you will need copies, because you want to go to events and you want to do book signing and you want to give your books as part of your coaching or as gifts. So many reasons for that. So you do want to have that, but at the same time you don't want to be holding thousands of books and just hoping that somebody's going to buy, and then once the order comes in, and then you're actually going to the post office to ship it out. So Amazon's doing everything for you. So that's a fabulous distribution channel. Now we come to the real last step of publishing or getting your book out there, which is marketing your book. Now, we all know that if you don't market your book, your 5 friends are going to buy it and probably not even read it. And that's not what you want, right? So you've done the hard yards. You've written your book. You've published it. You want the world to know what you've done. And I mean, I always say that it's not about blowing your own trumpet. It's about giving them the entire orchestra. So you have to go out there. You have to put yourself out there. So the world is going to read your book. And as Leanne was saying, that ripple effect that gets caused by people reading your book, and the story that's out there, that we all have the power to change the world, one reader at a time, so to say. So what we do at Global Influencers is we make sure that we promote your book. We don't, and it's not just a book. We promote our authors. We want our authors to be famous. And there's lots of different activities that we do in terms of marketing our authors and marketing the books, and lots of creatives where we also help you then promote your own self. And ultimately, the goal is to make your book into an Amazon #1 bestseller, which is exactly what we've done for all of the books that we have been able to publish. In fact, we broke our own record of the latest book that we have published, which is My Voice Volume 5, which became an Amazon #1 bestseller in just 2 weeks. So that's really the whole process of publishing. And look, again, give us a call, get in touch with us, and you will find out a lot more about what the process is. And now, oh gosh, I need a drum roll. And what you've all been waiting for, and I can see lots of stuff happening in the chat as well. So what you've all been waiting for is tonight's special offer, which Anna has been very kind to offer. And that is, so if you sign up for the book mapping program today, and this offer is only valid for the next 24 hours, you will get it at $200 US, $200, whereas the regular price for doing a book mapping program, which is a 5-week program with Anna, is US dollars $350. So it is a pretty good deal. So if you are interested in going through the book mapping. And again, you've heard from people, and we could have had a lot of people talk about it, but of course we only had a limited time, so we had two people who spoke about the book mapping and the coaching process. So it is something fabulous to get you started. So if you are interested, drop us a note, and in the subject just say book mapping with Anna, and put today's date, 21st of June, so we know that you've attended the session today, and you would be able to get this for $200. And of course, you can start when you want to start. It will be based on, you know, the schedules and everything. But if you do sign up for that in the next 24 hours, you will be able to get it for $200. So thank you, Anna, for this wonderful offer. I mean, this is amazing, and I love what you said, that look, this is a great process to just get people started, because most people don't know where to start, right, Anna?
Correct. Just get started with the book map and move on from there.